And then fatherhood. Fatherhood is so crazy. So we don't have a visceral experience of like having a kid unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie in the 80s. And so, like, 2 of you got that joke. And so fatherhood is weird. We don't have this oxytocin-laced, crazy experience of shoving a kid out and connecting with it and having it biting on our nipples every day, thankfully. I'm very, very lucky in that way. And on top of that, early on, you're being ignored, not ignored like intentionally, like stiff-armed by your wife, but the baby is taking precedent. Cool, I get that. My marginal utility increases with age. I understand that. So you're sort of like rationally go, all right, I love this thing. I clearly see its resemblance to me because I look like I have alien eyes and wearing that funny hat. But fatherhood creeps up on you. Like you're taking care of the kid and you're going through the motions and you do care about it because you recognize this. But all of a sudden fatherhood just kind of sidles up beside you. You're working with the kid one day and just kind of bumps you and goes like, hey, that kid there, you really want it to survive and thrive above your interests right now. Good talk. And it leaves. Like it's like that little like good talk. And then all of a sudden it's like you go through this wormhole of beautiful relation with your kid, and it clicks. It doesn't happen immediately. In fact, some of my other clients who are fathers talked about that. Like early on, it's this really frustrating thing because they're not getting attention from their wife. They can't really comfort the kid because early on, you're not really a sense of comfort. You don't have the milk, and you don't have mom's smell. That's why they encourage like skin-to-skin contact. You'd be laying there on your chest with your baby in its diaper, just on you, feeling, touching, communicating. And now my son likes me more than my wife, but that's just a phase. They'll go through it. They'll be like, I want mommy more than daddy. I want daddy more than mommy. So it does come back to eventually kind of pay dividends in that way. You're going to find that you start caring about things like schools. All of a sudden, your kid's 2 months old, and you're starting to worry about the neighborhood schools. You're starting to worry about preschool and daycare and all of this other crap and providing for your kids. There's a term, white flight, that is used when all of these previous peoples who are occupying the coffee shops and the bars in the city up and leave for suburbia because the schools are better. And this comes with some of that fatherhood element of like, shit, I got to provide for this thing, and I either have to do it monetarily or I have to do it locationally. You start caring about it in a really weird way. It's not something you chose to care about or even chose to take an active interest in. It just clicks, like that whole providing thing. And the thing is that the literature states it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters in the sense that, if the school is riddled with bullets or gun violence or just low performing academics, then yeah, your kid could be at a disadvantage. But there's a certain level in which continuing to reach for the stars does not provide any more of an advantage. And in the original Freakonomics book, they talked about how parenting, it's not about finding the best school. It's not about finding the best materials. It's not about being a perfect parent. It's about being someone who would so desperately care to try to find those things that leads to being a good father or a good parent. It's not about doing it right. You're going to do things mostly wrong by many measures because you can only learn by doing. And then you get better at it, and then you get better at it, and then you get better at it. And you see that your kids are really, really resilient, especially boys, and I'll touch on that in a second. And it'll be okay. Early on, it's new. You're kind of wondering what these little creatures are, and they're a little helpless, but as one of my doctor clients said, if they came out and their parts were on the other side of the room, they'd find their way back together early on. Like that's, that kids will be broken and then put back together really quick when they're really, really young. But then you've got to start thinking about this stuff, and it's never even entered your world before. And it's just a weird concern that shows up. Then the next thing you start thinking about is, what's sex going to be like with my wife after she's had a kid?